Welcome to Wesley Impact. I'm Keith Garner. What does Palm Sunday and Holy Week mean to you? Welcome to this Palm Sunday edition of Wesley Impact, and thank you for being with us and part of the programme. For well over 50 years, Wesley Mission has been sharing the message of God's love in this way, an offer of eternal hope through Holy Week, and this year will be just the same. Arguably the most significant day in the Christian calendar, Holy Week is a time when Christians prepare for what is the darkest of all days in the history of the world. That's the crucifixion and death of Jesus on the cross, which we remember on Good Friday, and the most joyous day in all of history, his resurrection, which we celebrate on Easter Day, offering an eternal hope that transcends our daily lives. In a few moments, we'll preview some of the activities that Wesley Mission will be involved in throughout Sydney this week, and you're welcome to join us if you're able. I'll be speaking to someone who has at the moment one of the most exciting jobs in Australia. Tom Tate is the Mayor of the Gold Coast in Queensland. In just over 12 months' time, his city will host the 21st Commonwealth Games. We'll find out a little more about the person who's keeping the city on track at this time and find how those preparations are going. We'll also be joined by Craig Gower and the Wesley Impact Band who will sing Salvation's Tide, and I'll share some thoughts on Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday sees Lent come to a close and the beginning of Holy Week. On the first Palm Sunday, Jesus entered Jerusalem on a donkey, followed by his disciples, and was welcomed by his followers singing Hosanna in the highest. They waved their branches in the air and laid them at his feet. It was a triumphal entry. Triumphal because it was Jesus making public his claim that he was the Messiah, referred to in the Old Testament, and the fulfillment of the Scriptures. Here at Wesley Mission, we reenact the triumphal entry of Jesus with a Palm Sunday procession around Circular Quay in Sydney, sharing our faith in public for all to join in. Then, throughout Holy Week, we continue with public events, declaring our faith in ways that we believe are relevant to those into whom we come contact to. In Good Friday, we are celebrating the Way of the Cross, where thousands join us on the streets of Sydney as we tell the story of Jesus carrying his cross in public. And on Easter Sunday, we gather at the Sydney Opera House for our annual Easter Sunrise service, which is also telecast on Channel 9 in Australia, around the world on partner networks and streamed over the internet. You're welcome to join us at any of these events. Let's take a look together at what we can expect this Holy Week.
Join Wesley Mission during Holy Week as we share the Easter message of hope throughout our city. It begins on Palm Sunday, when we'll gather at Circular Quay to reenact the triumphal entry of Jesus into Jerusalem. Singing Hosanna in the highest, palm branches will be held high in the middle of our bustling city. We'll also be sharing the Easter story from Circular Quay, where members of the public will have the opportunity to be part of our celebration, sharing the message of hope in the open air. During the week, Wesley Mission will continue to share the Easter message at our annual Easter breakfast and lunch events held in the Wesley Centre, where we'll be joined by special guests.
Very often these children were high achievers and very self-critical, and what they wanted above all was the blessing, gentlemen of their fathers. They knew that their mothers were there loving forever, but sometimes Father in his hope for the youngster to achieve their potential may have appeared critical. So the role of the father is enormously important.
And Keith Garner will share a relevant and timely message about the hope we can all find at Easter.
I always view the Holy Week breakfast as a high point in the calendar, not least because of its position in Holy Week, but because we gather as a very mixed and in many ways representative community of the city of Sydney.
Hope will be served through our regular services in the Wesley Church and at centres around our city. Then on Good Friday, we return outdoors to Martin Place in the heart of the CBD for the Way of the Cross procession. Gathered crowds will follow Jesus as he carries his cross in public for all to see, and witness him crucified in the middle of our city. Before joining us for a Good Friday Remembrance service, continuing to connect with all we come into contact with. 3 days later on Easter Day, Wesley Mission will return to the Sydney Opera House for our annual Easter Sunrise service. Telecast on television, broadcast on radio and streamed around the world via satellite and over the internet. This is a celebration of the resurrected Christ and a time where we come together and proclaim
that Christ is risen.
He is risen indeed.
For those not able to make the sunrise service, we'll also be sharing the message of hope at our regular Sunday church services throughout Easter Day. In a changing world, the message throughout Holy Week is the same. Easter is a time of hope.
If you would like to see more of the work of Wesley Mission, visit wesleymission.org.au. You can watch loads more videos, catch up on past episodes of Wesley Impact TV, find out about our diverse range of services, and get involved to help make a positive difference in your community. You can also connect with us on social media and stay up to date on the latest news and information from Wesley Mission. wesleymission.org.au.
Please don't hesitate to be in touch if you'd like to find out more work about Wesley Mission, and we can be of help in any way we can. Our email address is impacttv@wesleymission.org.au, and our website is wesleymission.org.au. In just over 12 months, the 21st Commonwealth Games will be held on the Gold Coast here in Australia. And my guest today knows all too well what needs to happen to make that a successful event. Tom Tate is the Mayor of the Gold Coast, and he joins us in the studio. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. Look, you're in your second term now as Mayor there, and all the eyes of Australia, you could say indeed, the world, there'll be an enormous audience there. There's no pressure then, is there at all, about any of this?
Yeah, we'll have about 1.5 billion viewers and 71 countries and territories descending on the Gold Coast. So we're working hard and we'll get it right.
How long have you been preparing for it?
We have been preparing the last 3 years. I mean, ever since we received the Commonwealth flag in Glasgow, and when that flag was handed over to us, I realised then that it's game on. And when we got back, we absolutely started going. And the key issue is really, let's get the facilities done and dusted 12 months out.
And you'll know when you go to the palace and they start that run, you know, with that torch, it starts real then, doesn't it?
Very much so. The Queen's Baton Relay starts from Buckingham Palace, and I'll be there. But the best part is you'll know that that baton will go through 71 countries and territories and will end up on the Gold Coast on the opening day, and where we light the cauldron of peace.
Look, let me say that one of the things I think, if you were to say, what is this guy known for, that you really much are committed to that have-a-go spirit and do something that's worth going, aren't you? That's part of your nature, isn't it?
It is, and I think Gold Coasters realise that, and you know, our city is known for that have-a-go entrepreneurial spirit, and they've seen my background. I'm not a polished speaker. I speak from my heart and wear my heart on the sleeve, and people know that I have a go, and they say exactly what you're thinking.
Now, you're mayor of what I think is one of the most popular tourist regions in Australia, but you studied in the University of New South Wales, and you were not born originally in Australia. People could perhaps see that in your face. You have a link very much to Thailand, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my mother's Thai, and Dad is fourth generation Australian. They met in Laos, and Dad's a civil engineer, and when they met and fallen in love, they basically stayed in Thailand till I was 11, and then we came over to Australia, and that's where I get to go to a Church of England school in Mossman Prep, and start having some good Australian friends. And from there on, secondary school, and met a lot of country boys. And
to cut a long story short, it's through the witness of one that you first hear of Christ, and you eventually made your own commitment to Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was one, my friend, I call him John because his name's John, and he was really passionate about Christ and the witnessing part, to the extent that, coming from Thailand, I'm a Buddhist. And I said to John, look, our friendship are very strong, but please, your God will never have me. Being that arrogant and saying that to him, to basically, I don't want any more conversation regarding that. And fast forward 10 years later, when we caught up and over cooking a steak, and I sat down and I said, John, I've got something to tell you. And I said, I'm a Christian, you know, I'm Christ my Lord. And he had a smirk on his face, and I remember that I said, what are you smirking about? And he said, well, Tom, I've prayed for you every day since.
Tom, how does your faith influence what you do today?
I very much pray about, before I go and make a speech, I pray about it, and what, through the Lord's wisdom and what he wants me to say. And that's when the speech come out good. I don't ever use any notes. The speeches are written, but and I speak really what I believe the Lord wants me to communicate on. But sometimes, you know, you get a bit, you know, happy with yourself. You think you can do it, and you forget to pray, and that's when you're mucked up in front of the live TV. So I try not to do that. And
tell me, are you really nervous about the preparations that are going forward? Is there so much to do?
We're not nervous, because we're absolutely ticking off the boxes, and like, I mean, we've launched our mascot a year out, and everyone likes it. It's a blue koala, Borrowby, because he surfs a lot. So there's a story to tell. The other thing I'd like is that we're bringing in our Indigenous people and our culture, the original people there, the story to be told. And so the Gold Coast will absolutely shine, and the communities really getting together as a team.
What's the message you want people to take away if they attend the Commonwealth Games?
I really want them to go, well, first of all, they understand how blessed we are with the outdoor life and our beaches and things. But the blessing is really how friendly the people are, the volunteers, Gold Coasters. And the main thing is, I want them to go, well, we're envious about it, so I want them to come back and revisit us after the Games.
Tom, we're going to revisit with you just a few moments from now, so stay with us. We're glad he's joined us today. I want us now to welcome Gower, Deborah Ezzy-Walton and the Wesley Impact Band, and they're going to sing Salvation's Tide.
There is no stopping what you plan. You give us faith to move the mountains and hopes to dream again. We see the fires of revival, darkness giving way to light, the glory of your grace advancing. Let it burn up the night. Let it burn up the night. Let the walls come down in Jesus' name. Let the lost be found in Jesus' name. Let the church arise to shine your light to the world. Shine your light. Your house forever undivided. All your sons and daughters one. At the cross we are united. Our hope is in the blood. Our hope is in the blood. Let the walls
Over the years of Wesley Impact, Keith Garner has had hundreds of conversations sharing stories of hope, resilience, love and the Christian faith. Perspectives on Faith and Leadership is a collection of inspiring and insightful conversations with people who are leaders in their field, including the New South Wales Police Commissioner Andrew Scipione, CEO of Lifeline Australia John Brogden, the inventor of the cochlear ear implant Professor Graham Clark, founder of Shed Happens Ian Watto Watson, respected Australian journalist Lee Hatcher, and the former Chief Inspector of the New South Wales Police Gary Raymond. Each conversation shares a unique perspective on leadership and the achievements of notable community leaders, and collectively presents a broad cross-section of leadership styles that have brought positive social change. Perspectives on Faith and Leadership is the first instalment of a 3-part series and is available now from Wesley Mission. To find out more, contact Wesley Mission on 02 9263 5555 or email impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
I often remind myself on Palm Sunday of perhaps the best remembered Palm Sunday for me, which was in Jerusalem itself. I was there on Palm Sunday morning, and thousands of people all marched and walked down the Kidron Valley into the city behind a donkey. And these were people of every nationality. When I was talking to Tom about the Commonwealth Games, I thought it's a bit like that, really. They were for everywhere, all across the world, all the languages, singing and reminding each other of the importance. Hosanna, Hosanna in the highest. So that's in my mind when I think of Palm Sunday. But let me read to you Matthew's account of the first of those Palm Sundays. Find it in Matthew 21, and I'm reading verses 1 through to 11. As they approached Jerusalem and came to Bethphage on the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them, "Go to the village ahead of you, and at once you will find a donkey tied there with her colt by her. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, say that the Lord needs them, and he will send them right away." This took place to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet. "Say to daughter Zion, see, your king comes to you, gentle and riding on a donkey, and on a colt, the foal of a donkey." The disciples went and did as Jesus had instructed them. They brought the donkey and the colt and placed their cloaks on them for Jesus to sit on. A very large crowd spread their cloaks on the road, while others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. The crowds that went ahead of him, those that followed, shouted, "Hosanna to the Son of David! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord! Hosanna in the highest!" When Jesus entered Jerusalem, the whole city was stirred and asked, "Who is this?" The crowds answered, "This is Jesus the prophet from Nazareth in Galilee." What a marvellous story. A number of things that are important in that particular account. Firstly, there's the place of the donkey and the colt. Well, that's really important in this because a donkey is, of course, a symbol not of power, but of humility. And I think that really is something that is important to recognise. Humility at that time in history was not considered a powerful thing. It wasn't considered something that you'd want to be. We often say, oh, he or she is humble, and we're making a compliment of it. Not necessarily true in those days, but humility has been graced by Christ and been made the greatest of all things. Then there's the reaction of the crowd. Now, the crowd is not the crowd following Jesus. This is the crowd that meets him as he reaches the city. I think the procession was probably quite small. The disciples and a few close people who were hanging around with those disciples. But when he came into the city, tells us in one version, the whole city was stirred. There was a reaction of the crowd to Jesus. Perhaps some of them had been there. That's why the recognition of the crowds is so important. Perhaps some of them had seen him healing people. Perhaps some of them had seen him touching the marginalised and the poor and the sick and reaching out to people in need. And just as we talked about a city on the Gold Coast being such a vibrant place, it was once so small, but now it's such a large place, teeming with people. And, you know, when Jesus came into the city, I think he made sense for all of us of the fact that we ought to be concerned about the crowds and the masses and the people, and perhaps especially for the unnoticed and those people unrecognised. And before the launch into all the activities of this coming Holy Week, it's good to realise that it was Jesus that led these disciples into the thick of it. It wasn't a case of Jesus came into Jerusalem and then all sorts of things happen which lead to the cross, as though it's some kind of accident. He faces evil straight on. He marches into the darkness and he faces the cross. And that experience of the loneliness and isolation of the cross will be ultimately transformed by the light and power of resurrection. So we've got a great week ahead of us. I hope you have too. And I hope as you go through this week, you'll recognise day by day that the journey Jesus made was not merely a journey for himself, for those disciples, for those who believed at the very beginning, but it was a journey he made for each one of us. A journey that would ultimately bear the truth of sacrifice and hope and love. Jesus will enter the city. He will face the enemy. He will face the evil, and he will proclaim love. Love that is demonstrated supremely in the mark of the cross. So together, as we journey into that city, it's hard to imagine. I've been minister of churches at different times in my life, and I've once said to a group of people on Palm Sunday, you know, next week we'll be here celebrating Easter Day, but it's what happens in between that makes all the difference, the suffering of Christ on his cross. May God grant us a real understanding of what this Holy Week is all about.
If you would like to contact Keith and find out more about today's program, write to us at Wesley Mission, Post Office Box A5555, Sydney South 1235, or you can send an email to impacttv@wesleymission.org.au. On our website, you can catch up on past episodes of Wesley Impact, find out more about our work, read online magazines and articles, and connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. You can also connect to Keith's blog and stay up to date on all of the latest news and information from Wesley Mission. wesleymission.org.au.
Thank you for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed the conversation with Mayor Tom Tate. Tom, I hope you've enjoyed being with us.
Oh, very much so. I'm very honoured, and it's a very special celebration week of hope and love, and it's a privilege to be with you, Keith.
Oh, look, thank you for saying that. Look, if somebody was listening to our conversation together, you're just getting ready for this thing a year from now that's going to have all the attention of the world, and they were very hesitant because they had to take a step of faith, what would you say to them?
I'd say first you pray about it, and God's strength will honour you, and you'll go out and have a go spirit.
Yeah, you get on that surfboard, you do whatever is necessary and get on with it.
Get on with it, however he moves you, and you know that's the right course.
Well, I hope many of our viewers will be thinking of those involved in the Gold Coast in their preparations throughout this coming year. If you've got any questions about the Christian faith, or if Wesley Mission can help you in some way, don't have any hesitation in contacting me. The email to make contact is impacttv@wesleymission.org.au, and our website is wesleymission.org.au. I hope you'll join us throughout Holy Week at different events, and if you're able, do that. Information is going to be available on our website all this week, so do join us both on television or the internet for that special Easter sunrise service from the Sydney Opera House. Thank you, and God bless you richly.
Wesley Mission helps more than 1,100 people each year through Wesley Financial Counselling Services. To find out more, visit wesleymission.org.au.